So thank you everybody for joining us for today's webinar, and for those that are going to be watching this recorded video that we're going to post onto our YouTube, and we'll share the link on our Facebook page later today. I'm Jill Parsons, the President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce of the Mid-Ohio Valley, and I want to thank my coworker Nicole Gwynn for coordinating today's event. Right now, we have all the attendees on mute, and I'll ask that if you have any questions to please jot those in the chat, and Nicole will monitor those, and then we will also allow time at the end for open question and answers, and I can open up your mics then. So joining us today is Darlene Parsons. She is the owner of Vienna Learning Center. Darlene has many years working in our local schools, and most recently she was the principal at Devender Middle School. The topic today is the different child care models in relation to the color code system in Wood County. Welcome, Darlene. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I thought it was a great thing to share this with people because we actually had a directors conference call about 3 weeks ago, right before school started, with a lot of directors in the area. Obviously, I'm one of the few that has been a Wood County Schools principal as well. So it was interesting to hear the feedback from the other directors. So I'm going to share what the different childcare models that we offer here at Vienna Learning Center. The centers in the area may provide similar options, but some of them did not feel comfortable helping with the remote learning or the virtual learning. So these may or may not be things that are in all the child care centers, but I know we're offering them here, and I know some of the other directors in the area are also offering them. So now I just have to figure out how to forward my PowerPoint. There it goes. I may have forwarded too much. I don't know. So I am, we got computers when I was in junior high. So apparently 20 years of learning computers, I still do not have them all figured out. So I shared the different learning models on here because I hear a lot of people talking about remote learning and virtual learning as interchangeable, and they are not. So I did want to clarify that. So of course, when Wood County Schools is in green, which is different than the state color-coded system, because we have to be very convoluted in all the things that we do, so one doesn't match the other. But when Wood County Schools is on green, that means all students are reporting to school as we did at the beginning of last school year. When it's on yellow, that is the blended learning model, which is what they are in right now. Up until September 28th, I believe their plan is to go back to green if the numbers stay in the area that allow us to do that. So with blended learning, that's where the students report to campus 2 days a week, and then they do remote learning for 3 days a week. So remote learning is when they log on to Schoology on their iPads, and the teachers will upload assignments for them to complete on there. So that is remote learning. Off-campus means that all of the students will be doing remote learning on their iPads, and the teachers will upload documents and may also have live classes. Virtual school is actually a whole other school system. So you are actually enrolled in Wood County Schools virtual school, which is usually facilitated by teachers all around the state and sometimes even out of state. We've had instructors from Florida for some of our courses. So those are just teachers that are teaching virtually, and those virtual school, you're enrolled in those courses for a semester. So if parents have done the virtual school route, then their children will be enrolled in those until the end of first semester, and then they can revisit whether they're going to come back to the brick and mortar schools or stay virtual. So that's the main difference. I hear people saying virtual when they really mean remote, and I hear them saying remote when they really mean virtual. So that's the difference there. So these are the options we have because I was a working parent. Luckily, all of my kids are grown now. I'm not sure what I would have done had they not been grown, because a lot of parents are being thrown into, you think you're done paying for childcare when your child enters school, and it's almost like giving yourself a raise, and now you're back to paying for childcare again. The state has been really great. They allowed essential workers to get subsidized childcare. That ends at the end of this month, though. So after September 30th, everyone will go back to paying for their childcare. I think they wanted to give essential workers time to make a plan and maybe save up during the months that the state was covering their childcare. So we do have parents that work at the hospital and do physical therapy, and so their income is pretty solid. But the state has been picking up their childcare since March or April. I can't remember when they started doing that, and that has been a big help. But like I said, that ends September 30th. The centers that stayed open were designated critical care sites. We were one of the few that stayed open in Parkersburg. I'm not sure, had we been open more than 2 weeks since our grand opening when everything hit, if we would have stayed open or not, but I'm glad that we did, because there were a lot of parents whose centers closed and they had nowhere else to go. So we actually were pretty excited to provide that care for parents in our area. So some options that we have here, we had each of our school age parents fill out this form that you see on the screen. So children can attend here all 5 days if they're doing the virtual school. So I do have 2 students right now that are here that are doing virtual school. So they come in with their iPads, and I have 2 teen helpers, and I have myself, and sometimes there's another teacher in the classroom, and we work with the students who are doing virtual school to make sure they know how to get logged on. Some of them don't know how to read, so it's not a matter of just sitting them in front of their screen and having them read. Like, someone has to sit with them and guide them through their lessons. The way we do that is we have a schedule. We start after breakfast, so about 9 o'clock, we do 30 minutes of the virtual or online learning, and then we take a break for 30 minutes, and we do centers or choice time where they can just like play and use their imagination. I do not let them use their iPads at that time because I don't want them to just be on the screen all day. So then we'll go back after 30 minutes and do a little bit of more work on their iPads. Then we take another break. We get some outside time. So that's what we do for our students that are here all 5 days. Children can also attend here 3 days a week on the blended learning model, and we help them with their Schoology assignments. So those are the ones that are doing the blended learning that have remote learning as part of their days off school. So those are a little easier to do because the virtual school has a lot of dialogue that you have to read. And a lot of it's very technical language for a kindergartner, first grader. One of my first graders just had to do a lesson on plagiarism. And so after we did it, I said, so do you understand what plagiarism is? And he said, what? So the virtual definitely needs an adult right with them. The Schoology assignments are more grade level, like go in and play this math matching game, or like go in and play this word game. So they are much better matched to their grade level. And then we have some children that are, the parents have work schedules that have worked around the blended learning. So they're going to take days off that their children are going to be home. And so their kids will just come to us on after school days, 2 days a week. And then we have some that'll just come on teacher work days and holidays like they did before. And then we do have a bus that picks up from the Vienna locations and drops off to the Vienna locations. And we do have some students that attend here that attend special needs classes, and their buses drop off to here as well. So if you have a student that has special education needs, you can set their buses to drop them off to your child care center, and that's anywhere. That's not just our center. Special needs buses drop off to where there will be an adult there to take the child. So I have a child that'll be going to Jefferson, and his bus will drop him off to Vienna Learning Center. So it doesn't really matter if it's in the school district or not. So that's something else kind of different to keep in mind that relates just to special education. Then we broke our cost down. It's at the bottom of this page. We have a weekly rate. So if they're here all 5 days doing virtual, and they don't have to be here 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's just the hours that we're open. But if they're here like a regular work day, like 8 to 5, 7:30 to 5, then the prices would be the 5 days. And then we discount it for 4 days, 3 days if parents are going to have them here just on the days that they don't have school. And then we also did a discounted rate. If they're just going to be here for the school day and they're going to leave by 2 o'clock, then parents can pay a discounted rate, because I do have staff that come in to work the 2 to 6 shift, like the end of the day shift. So if I have students that are going to be leaving at 2 o'clock, then I don't have to have extra staff come in for those students. And then we have the after school only prices. And then we just have a daily rate. So if just every now and then you need them to come to us, then we can do a daily rate. I was offering the one-on-one tutoring where they would just work with me personally and have a private session, but you know, I took on another role also at a different nonprofit, so I'm trying to protect my time a little bit. But some centers may allow outside tutors to come in and work with students. But what our goal is for the working parents is that when you pick your kids up at the end of the day, you're not then going home and doing all of their schoolwork. So they didn't just come here and play all day and hang out with friends. I know last year it was a struggle for a lot of parents. My brother, who is a pipe fitter, and his wife does cancer treatments at the hospital, and they have 3 school-age kids, and they were going to work all day and then coming home and having to try to make kids do all their work that, you know, could have been done during the day, but they needed a little more adult supervision. It was really frustrating for them. And I always like to share that scenario because a lot of people will just off the cuff say, well, you know, parents just don't want to help their kids. And it's not always the case. Sometimes parents are both working all day and sometimes high stress jobs, and then they're having to come home and do all of the work on the iPad. And so that's what I kind of had in mind with our model, is that we wanted it to be, if your children weren't going to be in school on those days, that when they come to us and you pick them up, their work is done, and you could just take them home like you would on a regular school day. So that's what we are working toward. And that's really all that I have. If anybody has any questions at this point that you would like to ask, I didn't put in a lot of the I thought about it later to maybe put in some of the things that we're doing to stay safe and protect from COVID. But I think we all know all the things people are doing for that. You know, we're checking temperatures, we're sanitizing, people are washing their hands. Where any students here that are over 9 have to wear a mask. Staff have to wear a mask if we're right beside a student, you know, and we're not social distancing. We don't have to wear them outside or when we're eating. So our desk for our school age are spread out around the center. Everybody has their own desk and their own place to store their things that are at least 6 feet apart from other people. So we're basically doing all the things that everyone else is doing to keep everybody safe from the virus. So I'm good for questions now.
So Nicole, I'm not sure if you can actually coordinate questions or you still have a saw in your background. Nicole's neighbor has decided to do some sawing. So I typed in a question, Darlene, what ages of students do you help with the virtual learning and the remote learning?
So anyone that's school age, and I've actually had a few middle school parents reach out to me. We can accept students up to age 13. After 13, they're not technically, we're not providing childcare, but what I've told some parents who have children over 13, we are allowed to have teen volunteers. So if they don't want their teenagers just home unsupervised, like just playing video games all day or being on Fortnite or whatever the thing is now, or TikTok, I don't know. I don't do any of that really. So, but they're worried about their kids being home all day unsupervised. And so what I've offered is that if they want to have their students come in and do their work here, and then they could provide some teen volunteer hours for us, because our 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds love when we have the teen volunteers come in and play with them on the playground, read to them. And actually the teenagers are really good with them too. We have to actually kind of tell our teenagers to quit like carrying them and holding them, because then the 3-year-olds won't walk anymore, because they just love the attention of getting carried around by teenagers. So I had to say, you know, I know it sounds kind of mean, but you can't carry them around and hold them all day. They can walk, they need to walk on their own. And so so that's an option if you're over 13, and you know, if you would be a good match for that, then I'm definitely open to allowing that, because you know, it's good experience for the teens and the kids love it too.
So Marion had a question. She said, are you finding our model to be financially feasible? I know it's such a struggle for childcare centers to have enough income to meet expenses.
So the state has been really great during the pandemic. They have, if we are a designated critical care site, which we are designated, you had to be designated that to be open during the pandemic. They have 3 tiers of payment for their subsidized system. So we're actually a tier 1 center. We have to be, I think, for the first 2 years that we're open. So that's obviously a lower rate than tier 3. Tier 3 would be a nationally accredited center. So they are paying all of us at the tier 3 rate until the end of this month. And then also when we had parents that were out, we had a couple parents that were laid off during the pandemic. If they received subsidized care, we still got paid for their subsidized care, even if they were not, their children were not attending, as long as they were laid off due to COVID. So it actually, I hate to say it benefited us, but the pandemic benefited us in a way because for us, we were a new business starting out. So as soon as we opened, and then we lost kids that we had as soon as we opened because of the pandemic, we were still able to get paid for them through the pandemic. So it'll probably be more of an adjustment going back to being tier 1 payments and having parents that were getting the subsidized care go back to private pay. So we'll see how that adjustment is. But right now, at least for us, I can't speak for other centers, it's actually benefited us. The state has been great. They've given us a couple of grants. They've sent us cleaning supplies, sanitizer, gloves. They've sent us art supplies, reading things for our libraries. So it was there for a while. We're getting a new box every day. It was like Christmas. They were wanting to make sure the crisis centers had enough supplies to get us through the pandemic. So I will say that the state was really great for child care centers.
So Nicole has a question. Are you back to full capacity at your center, or do you still have classroom size restrictions?
So as long as we can space out, we can be at full capacity. So as far as enrollment, we're at full capacity as in we have 46 spots and we have 46 enrolled, but some only come, Monday through Wednesday. Some only come on Thursday and Friday. And so it always works out to have the smaller class sizes anyway. And then I'll be curious to see when school starts back. Right now we have about half of our capacity are school agers. And so if school goes back full time September 28th, then we might take a bit of a hit then, because we'll lose about 15 of our students that come right now. Well, they were coming a full time until, this past month or Tuesday, and now they're going to come part time. So then on the 28th, if they go back, then they'll, that'll be a big chunk that's not here for the whole day.
So how young is your youngest student doing virtual learning?
We have a kindergartner that's doing virtual learning, but she was really excited to go to school. So mom has decided to go ahead and let her go to school. And then we have a first grader that's doing virtual.
Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know, for some reason I think more of the older children, maybe 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and then middle school mostly doing virtual learning. And then I think out of the high school. But yeah, I'm surprised that at that young, and great that they have that model and that structure to fall onto.
Definitely.
Darlene, do you mind to flip back to your last slide? Are you able to go back to your last slide where you had the breakdown of the options?
This one?
That one, yeah, the one that you're on right there, the one with the school age flex options. So the after school program, so potentially if our children in Wood County go back to school full-time in the classroom after September 28th, then you would ramp back up for then the after school program would ramp back up for you guys. And you pick children up with your bus, or they get delivered to you by their school buses?
So only the special education students get delivered to us by school bus. We tried to see if Neal Elementary would drop off at our corner where the special ed buses do, but sometimes the transportation department doesn't like to budge in their schedule much. So even though we have about 8 students that come from Neal, they were unable to drop them off at our center. So we pick up from Neal, and then we head up to Vienna. We have 3 there that we pick up. And then we actually had 3 students from Madison Elementary, which is not really in our district, but their center closed during the pandemic, and their parents really liked it here. And so, you know, it makes it really hard to say, sorry, you can't come anymore. So one of our personal vehicles is considered a company vehicle, and it has enough room for 3 students in the back. So I pick them up in my personal vehicle, and my son drives the bus to pick up at Neil in Vienna. So unfortunately, we won't be able to pick up any more from Madison or anywhere else, but we were lucky that we just had the 3 from there, and that their parents got to stay here because they have younger siblings here. And you know, when you're trying to have 3-year-olds transition to a new center every couple months, it's kind of traumatizing to them. So we were happy to be able to keep them here in our center.
Good. Ben, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I tried typing it in several times, and it ended up being multiple paragraphs that I couldn't tell if they made any sense. So I don't have kids, but I do have several staff here who do. And I know this past spring, you know, when schools closed and daycare started closing, they had issues. However, then the Restore closed, and so most of them were at home to take care of their kids and manage their homeschooling needs. And so as we move into the fall, you know, unless directed to by the governor again, you know, I don't necessarily anticipate the Restore closing unless we absolutely must. And so a lot of the staff are concerned, okay, so if the Restore is still going to be open, how am I going to manage? I don't have childcare, my daycare doesn't offer service. So as an employer who doesn't have kids but has several staff who have kids, what is important for me to know in regard to what's going on with school and learning at home and on site or whatever?
So that's a really good question, because I think it is difficult if you don't have children to anticipate all of the things. And it's even hard for me sometimes because my baby is going to be 20 this year. So I haven't been in the childcare realm for a while now. I think that it's important to, as the employer, to do as much flexible scheduling as you can, and which we have had to do that here too with our staff. Some of our staff have children that they may or may not want to bring them to childcare because we did have a staff who had a child with severe health issues, and so they did have legitimate concerns about them being here with other children. And so trying to work out those flexible schedules, but also I know you're here in Vienna, so it might be great if you could reach out to some of the Vienna centers, like Growing Seasons, myself, and I don't know who else is in Vienna, just to see if school would close suddenly, if there are spots. And also sometimes at our centers, we can request a waiver from the state. And so I have thought about that for Fridays. Right now, we're not over yet on Fridays, but if it gets to a point where we can manage it on Monday through Thursday because only half are here every other day, but then Fridays, when everybody doesn't have school, I thought about submitting a waiver to the state to see if they would be willing to let us be over capacity for Fridays if we use our patio. We do have a large patio that's got cover over it, so when it's nice out, you know, we'd be able to use it. But I think that would be it, and just being knowledgeable about, I know a lot of the parents didn't know about the subsidized care for essential workers. So if the schools get shut down again, that might be something that opens back up. So even though they have to work, maybe they can't afford childcare or wouldn't otherwise qualify, if the state would go back into paying for essential workers. Because I'm telling you that they said it's going to end September 30th, but every month it keeps changing about when it may end. So, you know, as everything evolves and changes, it's important to know if there's that subsidized care out there. And I do share a lot of that on our Facebook page, which I did put that on the last slide. I don't know if you can click on it from the screen or not, but we share anything that the Choices Child Care Referral puts out. I share it on our Facebook page, but they also have the Facebook page so that they also have updates about child care subsidy. Hopefully that answered your question.
So as far as staffing, I mean, I don't know if you're already at capacity, but let's say numbers go up and they say next Monday everyone's got to do their schooling from home. And so as far as you taking in additional folks, do you have the staff and the flexibility that, you know, as oftentimes things have been throughout this situation, it's kind of last minute.
Mhm.
You need a lot of lead time to take in additional kids, or is that something that you all can kind of go on the fly pretty quickly with?
As long as parents can fill out the registration information with all the emergency info, then we usually can be pretty quick, like a 1-day turnaround, as long as we have space. And then, like I said, if it ever gets to an issue where space is an issue, that's something where I feel like the licensing specialists have been on top of things, emailing, making sure we're able to provide for all the parents. So I honestly think if there was an issue getting childcare because of numbers, I think that the center, the licensing specialist would I can't speak for them, but I feel like they would have provide waivers because they know that the parents have to work and there has to be care. So I've also talked with the superintendent from time to time to see if there's a way that some of us could maybe pair with the school system. Because we did have, I mentioned some special needs students, so we did have somebody here that was enrolled with autism, and we didn't really have the staff to support that. So we were able to work with DHHR and pull an aide from Wood County Schools that was off for the summer, and DHHR paid her to be here as an aide for that student so that his mom could go to work. So I can't speak for the other centers in the area, but I know that here we do everything we can to help parents out if they need care. So hopefully everyone else does the same as well.
Any other questions for Darlene, or any other comments that you would like to share, or challenges that you're facing, or questions you have as an employer with childcare and those types of needs for your employees? Marion?
I just wanted to mention that I'm with the Parkersburg Area Community Foundation, if everybody doesn't know that. And our foundation and the Ross Foundation and the Bernard McDonough Foundation have been interested in issues related to childcare now for a while, and we've provided some support to Choices, the regional childcare referral agency, to help childcare providers in the region. And I just wanted to express it's an issue that local funders are interested in and concerned about, and particularly as it relates to workforce, because it's such an important service for people who want to be able to be engaged in the workforce. So just want to mention that.
Yes, thank you, Marion.
Well, thank you.
Obviously, from the Chamber's perspective, as a membership organization for almost 400 businesses, organizations, small businesses, large employers in the Mid-Ohio Valley, having options and solutions for childcare for our employers in this area has always been an important topic. But boy, it really ramped up in its importance when March 13th came to be with the stay-at-home orders. And a lot of employers, I know, Ben kind of referenced this, a lot of employers did not have the flexibility to allow their employees to stay at home, a couple days a week with their children, or 5 days a week and work remotely. And so finding options and solutions, and obviously, Darlene, I think the availability that you have, where you have added in programming that allows for your staff to help students with their blended learning with the remote, to be there to help them with that. And then obviously the virtual learning. So I learned something new today from that piece of it, to understand that you can help with the virtual learning. So if you've selected that for your student, for your child, it would still allow you to work your schedule with your employer as required, but know that there is a resource that can help your child maneuver through the virtual learning platform. And just like Darlene said, then they're not coming home from a 10, 8, 12-hour day of work and then having to spend all their evening and that time with their child doing all their virtual learning lessons that has already happened during the day. So what a great opportunity and a resource.
Well, and I will add to even if you're an educator, I mean, obviously I was a teacher before I was a principal, and I've got 2 master's degrees in education, and we tried homeschooling my youngest son for a year, and I wanted to pull my hair out, and I am a teacher. So sometimes it helps just for them to be able to go somewhere else that's not their mom or dad, and it feels more like it's school. And so that is why we set up the student desk the way we did. So when they come in and it's, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we get on the iPads and do their work. They know it's time to put everything away. They each have their own stations, and they go there and it's time to do work. And then I rotate around. My teen helper goes around. My teen helper is also doing virtual school. And so she comes in and does her virtual school, and then she goes around, and since she's familiar with that platform, she can help with things just like navigating the site. She might not be able to help, which, most of them are elementary, so she probably could help them with the content too, but she can at least help them navigate the site. And Marian, I may reach out to you all because we do have a whole upstairs where we can add to our facility, but this building has been grandfathered in without sprinklers. So before we expand, we have to add a sprinkler system, which I hear is pretty expensive. And so I will be looking at possibly a grant opportunity down the road. But one thing that I've seen a need for is we get a lot of calls for special needs childcare. There is actually only one in the whole state, and it is in Huntington. And so we have some foster parents that are fostering students with special needs. And so I feel bad because they're doing a service to the community by helping provide homes, but then they also have to work, and then there's no childcare to provide for the children that they're fostering. And so I would love to look at an option of expanding the upstairs even to be a special needs childcare center. And then I spoke with Lisa Parsons over at Circles, where I'm a part of that now, and was asking her if she knew some needs where people are trying to get out of poverty. And she said the need that she sees is the overnight care. So when you have people at the hospital that work 7 to 7 shifts, or DuPont that are 7 to 7 shifts, and we're only open 6 to 6. So, and when they're on midnights, there's nobody. And so I've been kind of wrapping my brain around if we could put some like sleeping area upstairs, where whether it's pull out like Murphy beds or day beds or something, so that in the evenings we could provide the community some overnight care, but during the day maybe it could be a special needs child care for those students who need that. But we're just a new business starting out, so there's no way we have the funds or reserves set up to put in a whole sprinkler system. So I'm glad that that's a topic that you all are very interested in, because I may be reaching out to see if that's something you all would want to help with, because I really do. It's talked to our licensing specialist, and she's the one that shared with me there's only one special needs childcare, and it is in Huntington. And with all the children being born with the effects with the opioid crisis, I mean, those are the children that are entering childcare and school age care now, and the school is equipped to take them. They have aides and programs, but childcare centers, they are not equipped right now. And I have a background of at least being a principal at a school where we had a mild to moderate impaired room, and we also had a behavior disorder room. So I'm familiar with the students that would be in those kind of classes and what kind of care they need, but it's difficult when they're just mixed in a regular childcare center that's got a lot of sensory issues going on. And so I'm happy that you shared that with us.
Yeah, we'd be happy to talk to you.
Very good. So quick reminder then, Nicole did put the link to the Vienna Learning Center Facebook page in the chat. So you can click there and follow along, and obviously we will send out to you Darlene's contact information if you have any questions. But we certainly appreciate your time today, Darlene, and all the information that you provided. And thank you so much to our participants. And then I know a lot of folks are going to be able to watch this where we are recording this, so it will be shared on our YouTube page and on our Facebook page. So feel free to share that link with other folks that you feel would like to learn more about this information. But yeah, again, for Wood County Schools, we are in a blended learning situation right now where students just started back on Tuesday. And so based on what what your last name starts with, you either went Tuesday, Thursday this week, or Wednesday, Friday. And so I told Nicole and Darlene and a few of you know, I've been helping. I'm an assistant tennis coach for Jackson Middle School this fall, and so the last couple of days, the kids have been so excited. They have enjoyed the blended learning, but they've really missed their friends that have different last names, so they haven't been able to see half their classmates. And yesterday was funny where we had practice, and those kids that weren't in school yesterday that had been in school on Tuesday, they were kind of lingering around to see all their friends come out from school before we took off to do our tennis practice. So I know for them, it's working at least in this capacity right now. So next week, depending on your last name, you'll go to school on Monday and Wednesday, or you will go on to school on Tuesday and Thursday. Everybody's off on Friday, and then the days that you aren't there, you're doing remote learning. So making sure I'm getting the name right as opposed to virtual learning, so making that distinction. But again, thank you everybody for your time today, and we will get these resources back out to one another. And if you have any questions or any needs that you need from Nicole or I, please feel free to reach out to us. So again, thank you, Darlene. We appreciate it. Hey, Darlene, thank you. We're so glad we got to see you.
I know.
I mean, some technology issues before everybody logged on here, and Darlene was in black and white, and so we were glad to see you in color.
Me too. Thank you all for being part of my very first virtual webinar.
You
Thank
did a
you.
great job. Very good.
Thank
Everybody
you.
have a great Thursday. Thank
You too.
you.
Thank you.
Yay, Darlene, you did awesome.
Thank you.